when the candidates first arrived, especially to give them a very uncomfortable time being interrogated rather than submitting to friendly questions, interrogated in the full glare of the spotlights. But I'm sure, Peter, you are right to have faith in the forces of nature, and in fact, the way in which summer has been so far in Worcester, it's very surprising to see any sun at all. I have a fistful of questions, some of which were submitted in advance, and some of which have been offered here this evening, and I'm going to try and mix them up. If I don't get through all the questions, I think because, well, presuming most of you have homes to go to, and you don't want to be here until midnight, I'm going to suggest that we draw the proceedings to a close at 9 o'clock. And I'll endeavour to work through as many of the questions as I can before that. If it's one of the questions that has come in advance, I shall ask the person who's asked the question in advance to articulate it this evening. If it's one of the ones that has come in this evening, if you feel like owning up to your question, you might want to articulate it, but I will articulate it otherwise. We're really very grateful to you four candidates for coming this evening, and it was good that Peter began with a prayer, but I want to assure all of you of all our prayers in the run-up to the general election. The democracy which we enjoy is a really precious thing, and I hope that none of us here, I feel confident actually that none of us here takes it for granted. We greatly value our democracy, and we greatly value as well the way in which you are prepared to put yourselves on the line, not just this evening, not just during the campaign, but thereafter. Politicians, in my experience of late, get a pretty bad press. But I've been privileged to serve for over 10 years in the House of Lords. I have to say that almost all the politicians I've come across who are in office, either in the Lords or in the Commons during that time, all of them have been men and women of integrity who want to serve. They want to serve, they want to do the best for their country, and I know that is true for you. We have differing opinions as to how that ought to be done, but thank you for being willing to put yourselves on the line this evening and during this campaign, and we assure you of our prayers hereafter. So as we begin, I'm going to ask each of the candidates to say just a little about themselves and the party which they're representing in the election, and then we'll move on to questions. So Mel, starting with you.
Thank you and good evening. And can you all hear me okay? Yes. Fabulous, thank you. Yeah, my name is Mel Olcott. Obviously, I'm the Liberal Democrat parliamentary candidate for Worcester. I'm also a Worcester City and a Worcestershire County Councillor. And I've been councillor since 2019. I've been re-elected to Worcester City twice. On both occasions, I've polled more votes than any other councillors across Worcester. I see this as real validation that people who I represent in claims really support and recognise what I do, and I'm really very much here to be a local champion, and I would like the opportunity to represent and serve all of you across Worcester, not just across claims. Outside of my political career, I'm a finance systems consultant, and I purposely work 3 days a week, which allows me to conduct all my political work as well. And on a personal level, I was born in Worcester, I'm from Worcester. I've moved away twice and come back twice because I do love it here. I've brought up my children here and I know the area very well.
Thank you very much indeed. Now, Mark.
Thank you very much and good evening. And thank you very much for coming and listening and spending the time. And thank you for participating in our democracy, which is so important. I'm Mark Bayliss. I'm the Conservative candidate here at the general election. I wasn't born in the city. I was born in the county, in Redditch. I moved here just under 30 years ago. I lived in St Peters and then Warden Villages. My children were born here and were educated in state schools here. Fantastic education. And give a shout out to Lippo Grange and Nunnery Wood and the sixth form college done a great job with my children in bringing them up and helping with their education. I've been involved in public service for about a quarter of a century. I spent 10 years as a parish councillor in Warden Villages. At the same time, I was on the City Council. I had the pleasure of being on the City Council for 21 years, starting in 2002, and I left last year. In that time, I was leader of our city for 5 years and enjoyed my opportunity to help shape and drive this magnificent city forward. I've been our Deputy Police and Crime Commissioner for West Mercia for almost 2 years now, where I work with the Commissioner and with the senior officers in the police to try and make sure that our police service delivers the service that you would want, and we're the voice of the public in policing. I'm proud of the things that we've achieved, my party has achieved in government. It hasn't been without its pitfalls and issues, clearly, but just some of the things I'm particularly proud of: 4 million people extra in employment, 18.4 million households with an average tax cut of £900 this year, doubling the personal tax allowance, introducing and then doubling the national living wage to now £11.44. But more importantly, there are things that I've been personally involved with and proud of doing here in the city. Building the Southern Link Road, doubling that. Building our new Parkway station, which has been talked about for 40 years. Winning 50 million in regeneration funding for our city. Funding places at our new medical school. The new £35 million A&E unit at the Worcestershire Royal. We've done a lot. My message is, don't believe the doomsayers who say everything in this country has gone wrong. There's a lot of things that we can all be proud of, and I look forward to debating with my colleagues. I've been lucky enough to work with Mel and Tom and Tor over the years. They're all excellent, good people, and whoever is selected, I'm sure will make you an excellent member of Parliament. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mark, Tom.
Evening all. My name is Tom Collins. I live here in the city as well. My kids are in local schools. I work at Worcester Bosch. My background's in engineering. So I work at Worcester Bosch. I've been here for the last almost 19 years. And my career has been in trying to tackle climate change through technology. So I've been working on green energy, which has been really, really exciting, and leading innovation between industry and government. That's been really exciting. My journey into politics has been a progressive one. Not many engineers find themselves in politics, but I was led here through a couple of urging forces, I suppose. One is a sense of frustration that there was a lack of leadership, vision and integrity in politics, that we needed more ordinary people to step up. And the second was a realisation that there I was delivering technology to try and improve the world. But I realised that we've actually got the technology to solve most of our problems already. The difficulty is in the human factors and delivering that and deploying it, and that's political. And I realised that political things really matter. I campaigned on modern slavery, human trafficking, and then moved into politics. I was a city councillor for 4 years, where I kicked off Worcester Play Plan, and now I find myself here. And I think Worcester as a city has some absolutely incredible assets. We've got an amazing, world-shaping history. We've got some fantastic small businesses and independent, unique, really distinctive organisations. We've got the university and our fantastic education institutions, we've got a hospital, and of course we've got this incredibly mixed group of talented and creative people. And I would really like to see us lean into these assets as a city and do that by working even more closely together, by building bridges and joining people up. I want to see the people in our communities given a voice in that process and able to help shape our future together. And I want to see the spaces, the funding and the support available for small businesses and startups, because I think Worcester could have a really thriving economy, really rich and exciting, with a very, very a really attractive offering for young people who want to build their lives here and enjoy our wonderful city. I spoke to a lady the other evening on the doorstep. I'm on doorsteps a lot at the moment. And she was really keen to talk to me. And it turned out that her key concern was the future for her children and grandchildren. And really, the question she had for me was whether there was hope, whether things could really change and there could really be a brighter future. And I think that is the moment we're in right now. This is a moment of potential change, and it's a moment of great hope. And I really hope that people are ready to take the opportunity, step out, step up, and we can see that change and that hope for the future of our country.
Thank you, Tom. Tor.
Okay. Hi, I'm Tor. I'm Tor Fingry. I'm the candidate for the Green Party in Worcester. I've been involved with the Green Party politics-wise for about 5 years now. In that time I've been elected twice, most recently this year. The ward I represent on the City Council is just over the other side of the river. It's called St Clement. Green Party key priorities are the NHS. We're looking at affordability of housing. We're looking at water quality and air quality. We're looking at standard of living. We're looking at climate and nature. That's a much wider view of the Green Party. If we look at what we are wanting for Worcester, I'm really interested in Worcester as a really hub for arts and tourism. I think it is a fantastic place and that more people should come and visit us and enjoy our wonderful city. Just while I'm here, let's talk about the Green Party in Worcester and Worcestershire wider. On the City Council at the moment, we have 12 Green Party City Councillors out of 35, so we're the second biggest party. At the County Council, we have 5 county councillors. So you can see that Worcester has a really growing Green Party and a really growing Green movement. The people of Worcester told us in their votes that they don't just want the same 2 parties over and over. However, in order to get change, you have to start voting for it, you have to start getting the ball rolling for it, and that's what I'm here to represent. We're in early days at the moment, but I'm ready to see it through, and I'm really excited for what's to come in this elections.
Thank you, Tor. So we'll move on to our first question, and the first question on my list comes from Father Brian, formerly known as the very reverend canon, Brian McGinley. So Brian, would you like to articulate your question? You got in quick.
Thank you, Bishop John. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to the candidates for coming along this evening. When I told we might be short, I said I would be more than happy to be the SNP delegate for the evening and put my argument forward for devolution. But anyway, you've all turned up and we're very, very grateful. Now, as most, predominantly Christian audience this evening, one of the things we want to see is the alleviation of poverty in all its forms. And many of us, and I included, have parishioners, members of my congregation, who work at the Worcester Food Bank. With almost 2 million people using food banks in the UK, which is the highest number on record, what are your plans to tackle the cost of living crisis in our area and nationally? Thank you.
So we'll go to you, Tor, to start with. We'll go in reverse order, shall we?
Sure, yeah. Firstly, I'd like to thank all the work that people do at the food bank. You do an incredible job. However, I really wish that your job wasn't necessary. It's awful to see the amount of people that have to use food bank, and it's an increasing number year on year. It's really devastating. In terms of what the Green Party would want to do to tackle the cost of living crisis, we're talking about really practical steps. We're talking about raising universal credits by £40 per week, because we see massive increases in the price of food, we see massive increases in the price of rent, and yet universal credit hasn't raised nearly enough to cover that, and that's why we're seeing people really, really struggling. We're also looking at raising the minimum wage to £15 an hour. That's something I'd really like to see coming, and that's for everyone, even those 16-year-olds and upwards. And hopefully we can put an end to this cost of living crisis. If we look at the longer-term plans, the Green Party are really interested in looking at universal basic income, which would give people a security net. If they do lose their job, they would have some income coming in, and they wouldn't have to rely on food banks, and they would, it's about showing dignity to people and, giving them a chance and a voice. Thank you.
Thank you. Tom.
Thank you. The fact that we need a food bank at all, and I remember when we first opened our food bank, and it was there just to bridge the gap between often people just having a little bit of a crunch moment with their benefits payments. Now, our food bank is very busy supporting families often on a long-term basis, unfortunately, is what practically ends up happening. And they are increasingly families where more than one person is working and still able to make ends meet. That should simply not be the case. and it's devastating. I met with Graham a week or so ago and said, I know that Freebank have to move some of the long-term lease soon. I said, I want to give you a headache with that long-term lease because we shouldn't need it anymore. The things we can do, in the long term, we want to do things like reduce energy bills. That's why one of our big missions is about investing in our own homegrown energy that we own, so that those bills come down and that people are better protected from those shocks that we saw after the Russia invading Ukraine. We want to insulate homes, we want to do that work on the cost and energy involved in heating. But we also want to make sure that people when we tackle the housing crisis, so we really get building more homes that are the right type of homes for people to live in, help people get their first drop onto the mortgage ladder, but also give renters more rights, because it's actually often not just the numbers not stacking up, but it's the insecurity that's pushing people into these big banks. So we want to also enhance rights for workers, to have day one rights as an employee, and we want to make sure work pays. So we're going to change the minimum wage up to a living wage. We're going to take away those age bandings for people in their early 20s as well. We know the benefit system doesn't work well, and I think this is a difference in approach you'll see from Labour, that we really work with empathy and want to see people treated with dignity by the system. And there are some short-term things we can do as well in the immediate term. So, for example, we're going to put breakfast clubs in schools so that no child has to go to school with an empty stomach. We're going to put mental health support into our communities and into our schools. We're going to build youth hubs in our communities so that young people are supported. Because actually now, another trend we're seeing is that more and more of the people using the food bank are younger people who find themselves pushed into homelessness or sofa surfing. We need to tackle that as well. So it's, of course, a big holistic problem. And in the end, the underpinning of fixing it will be getting our economy back onto a stable footing and back into growth. And that's our number one mission that Labour's laid out. We're going to give business security. We're going to work actively as a government, attracting international investment back into the UK. We're going to lean into the energy transition and rebuild British energy. We're going to create new jobs, and those jobs are going to be higher skilled. And we're going to provide the training and the support and the apprenticeships and the technical colleges to support that. So young people, so everybody has a much better economy with much better work available to support them, and that they're all able to be treated with dignity, to have security, and to have fair pay that allows them to support themselves independently.
Thank you. Mark.
Thank you. I'd also like to thank the Food Bank for the valuable job that they do in helping people in Worcester. I will make a bet though with Tom and with anybody else who will take me up that the Food Bank will still be in existence in 5 years' time, whoever wins the next election, because I think that they fulfil a purpose that is now there. And if anybody would like to, on the panel, say that that's not going to be the case, then feel free. We'll have a bet for charity on whether that's going to be the case.
Well, I'll talk a bit later.
Okay, we'll do that. But what have we done in government? And the important thing, there are 4 million more people in work in this country than when we came to power in 2010. 35 million in 2010, 39 million in work today. And work is good for us. Tony Blair and Gordon Brown both recognise that work isn't just about earning money, it's about a state in society, it's about a sense of purpose. And so work is absolutely at the core of dealing with poverty. I'm delighted that we've halved the number of children who live in workless households, down by millions since we came to power in 2010. We've doubled the tax-free allowance that you can earn, again, encouraging and helping people who go to work to keep more of their own money. And we came to power at just over £6,500, now over nearly £13,000 in terms of tax-free allowance. We've also taken the minimum wage, and well done to the Labour Party in the 1990s for founding at the minimum wage, but we've taken that. And we've more than doubled it since we've been in power. The minimum wage now, the national living wage, is £11.44. What's happened to average wages in this country is they've risen by £220 a week on average. The average wage in this country, check it out in national statistics, is £35,000 these days. What we have done is also led to a reduction in the absolute number of people in poverty compared to 2010. We've introduced universal credit, which made a huge difference when there were all those individual benefits, where people used to face a cliff edge, where they used to face the benefits trap, where if they took a job that was uncertain, they'd completely come off their benefits, and it would take a very long time to get them back. And because there were lots of myriad of different benefits, they risked a huge amount. Universal credit has taken away that. And I would say, just again to Tom, that last time Labour were campaigning to get rid of universal credit. It's not in their manifesto anymore. They're keeping universal credit because it's proven the benefit of work. In terms of, we're doing some wider things too, in terms of the Renters Reform Bill, which fell in the last Parliament because of this earlier general election, but was giving greater security for people in rented properties. Took away the Section 21, the no-fault eviction purpose. Now, those are some of the things we're doing. But I'm not going to stand here and say we've got lots and lots of extra money to spend, because we haven't, as a country. As all the parties know, and as the Institute for Fiscal Studies has shown, none of our manifestos talk about massive extra funding. Certainly not the three parties here. Maybe the Greens might be different in this. What we're working with is within the confines of